Hello everyone, welcome to Akshada Public School. In this video, you will be able to learn about the poem Road Not Taken. Before starting about the poem, let me introduce myself. I am Nandita Nirvanshetty from grade 9B, here to do a presentation on the poem Road Not Taken. So let's start. First, let me tell you what are the learning objectives. At the end of the video, you'll be able to appreciate the poem, identify the tone, mood, theme, message and setting. Write few lines about the poem. Now, let me tell you about the author. Robert Frost is an American poet who writes simply but insightful about common, ordinary experiences. Glossary: diverged, separated and took a different direction. Undergrowth: dense growth of plants and bushes. Wanted where, had not been used, hence, here in the future. Now let me tell you about mood, tone, setting. Mood of the poem can be described as nostalgic. Tone of the poem is confused because the poet is confused to choose the road. Setting of the poem is yellow wood where two roads diverge. Theme of the poem is that life is full of choices which will define our destinies. Message: by this poem, the poet wants to tell us that realities in life. There are many difficult situations which comes one by one. We come across situations where we have to choose the one, we will have to leave the other. So we should develop our ability to choose from the given two. This is what the poem wants to tell us. Now let me read the poem and explain you. Stanza 1. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Stanza 2. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. Stanza 3. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. Stanza 4. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the differences. Now, let me tell you the summary of the poem. The poet says that the path which we choose in our life should be correct. He describes his feelings about the choices that he has chosen in the past. The path which we choose should be correct and it should decide our future and reach our destination. The message that the poet wants to give is nothing but the poet says that we should choose a path which impact on our future and on our life. If we choose wrong path, then we will regret it and it can't come back. So we must be smart and wise while choosing. Thank you everyone. I hope you all have understood the poem.
Hi everyone, my name is Rakshitha. Today I am going to explain the poem The Road Not Taken. Setting: yellow wood, where two roads diverge. Mood: nostalgic. Tone: serious. Poet: Robert Frost. Stanza 1. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Once the poet was going through a road, and there was a diversion. There were two different paths, and poet need to choose only one road to travel. He stood for a long time, and looked at the path very carefully. He was able to see the path till from where it curved. Stanza 2. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. Then he decided to move from another part, because he felt both were equally good. He felt that the path was better for him, so he chooses it, as it had grass on it. After some distance, he realized that the both path was worn out of the same way. Both the paths were similar and worn out. Stanza 3. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. The poet says that both paths were similar that morning. Both had leaves on them, and no one had stepped on them. He decided that would take one path and keep the other path for another day. He knew that one way leads on to another way. He knew that he could not go back and to the choice that he had made. Stanza 4. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. He says that in the future he would say that once upon a time he had reached such a time where he had two choices to choose, and he chooses the road which was travelled by lesser people. That decision on his decided his future. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to my video presentation. So let me introduce myself. I am Sahana Kokotnur from class 9B studying in Rakshitha Public School, here to do English video presentation guided by Mahendra sir. Chapter name The Sound of Music by Deborah Cowley. In this context, we are mainly discussing about a great personality who is Evelyn Glennie. By the end, you will be able to get an inspiration from the real life experiences of a differently abled person. You will be able to summarize the events and characters portrayed in the story. You will be able to analyze the information about the personalities in the lesson. So let us start discussing about Evelyn Glennie. Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing it. Moving on, let me tell you glossary. Jostle, push roughly. Slight, small and thin. Daunting, frightening. Aspiring musician, a person who wants to be a musician. Percussionist, a person who always plays the drum, the tabla, etc. Potential, quality or ability that can be developed. Auditioned, gave a short performance that the director could decide whether she was good enough. Tingles, causes a stinging sensation. Lilt, a way of speaking. Here in this image you can see an image resembling Evelyn Glennie. Some important events in this context are: first day at the prestigious Royal Academy of Music in London. Let me explain you this. Rush hour crowds jostle for position on the underground train platform. A slight girl looking younger than her 17 years was nervous yet excited as she felt the vibrations of the approaching train. It was her first day at the prestigious Royal Academy of Music in London, and daunting enough for any teenager fresh from a Scottish farm. But this aspiring musician faced a bigger challenge than most. She was profoundly deaf. Evelyn Glennie's loss of hearing had been gradual. So let me tell you, how did they come to know that Evelyn was deaf? Evelyn Glennie's loss of hearing had been gradual. Her mother remembers noticing something was wrong when the 8-year-old Evelyn was waiting to play the piano. They called her name and she didn't move. I suddenly realized she hadn't heard, says Isabel Glennie. For quite a while, Evelyn managed to conceal her growing deafness from friends and teachers, but by the time she was 11, her marks had deteriorated, and her headmistress urged her parents to take her to a specialist. It was then discovered that her hearing was severely impaired as a result of gradual nerve damage. They were advised that she should be fitted with. But Evelyn was not going to give up. She was determined to lead a normal life and pursue her interest in music. One day she noticed a girl playing a xylophone and decided that she wanted to play it too. Most of the teachers discouraged her, but percussionist Ron Forbes spotted her potential. He began by tuning two large drums to different notes. Don't listen through your ears, he would say. Try to sense it some other way. Says Evelyn, suddenly I realized I could feel the higher drum from the waist up and the lower one from the waist down. Forbes repeated the exercise, and soon Evelyn discovered that she could sense certain notes in different parts of her body. She said, I had learned to open my mind and body to sounds and vibrations. The rest was her sheer determination and hard work. She toured the United Kingdom with a youth orchestra, and by the time she was 16, she had decided to make music her life. She auditioned for the Royal Academy of Music in London and scored one of the highest marks in the history of the Academy. She gradually moved from orchestral work to solo performances. At the end of her 3 year course, she had captured most of the top awards. And for all this, Evelyn won't accept any hint of heroic achievement. If you work hard and know where you're going, you will get there. And she got right to the top, the world's most sought after multi percussionist with a mastery of some thousand instruments and hectic international schedule. It is encouraging to watch Evelyn function so effortlessly without hearing. She speaks flawlessly with a Scottish lilt. As for music, she explains, it pours in through every part of her body. It tingles in the skin, her cheekbones, and even in her hair. When she plays the xylophone, she can sense the sound passing up the stick into her fingertips. In the year of 1991, she was awarded with Royal Philharmonic Society's prestigious Soloist of the Year. Master percussionist James Blade says God may have taken her hearing, but He has given her something extraordinary back. What we hear, she feels far more deeply than any of us. That is why she expresses music so beautifully. Anne Richlin of the Beethoven Fund for Deaf Children says she is a shining inspiration for deaf children. They see that there is nowhere that they cannot go. She has given inspiration to those who are handicapped. People who look at her say, if she can do it, I can do it. Evelyn Glennie has already accomplished more than most people twice her age. At, at not the least, she has given enormous pleasure to millions. So this is all about Evelyn Glennie. Well, so I think that's all. I hope you were able to analyze information about Evelyn Glennie. Thanks for watching.